Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Diecast Emporium Military Mondays, brought to you by my friends at smallscalehobbies.com. You know the deal. Check out their website, smallscalehobbies.com, or visit their store in person if you're local to the Manitowoc, Wisconsin area. In this week's edition, we're going to take a look at a specialized version of the Sherman tank utilized in World War II. But before we get there, let's take a look at some other Shermans that you've either seen on this channel before or you will see in future editions of Military Mondays. If you think of a Sherman tank, this is the version you probably think of easiest, or the one that comes to your mind quickest. This is the M4 Sherman, the standard version, one that was used pretty much throughout the war, start to finish, and even a little bit into Korea. But what happens if you need to get from ship to shore? Lickety-split, but there's a little bit of water in your way first. Well, then you call in the deep water wading kit on top of your Sherman. That's what these large snorkels are, located at the back of the tank. Maybe you've seen these in some movies, particularly Saving Private Ryan and Bandit Brothers featured these deep water wading Shermans. All right, well, what happens if you need to clear some debris from a building that may have taken a bomb or two? Or maybe there's some snow, like Battle of the Bulge, and you need to clear that out of the way. Or maybe you need to move some mines. Well, then you call in this bad boy. This is the Sherman Dozer tank. Basically, this is a standard Sherman with a Dozer blade bolted to the side of the track frames. Again, this variation of the Sherman was used all throughout the war and was very much loved. All right, well, it's late in the war. The Germans have developed the Tiger and Heavy Tiger tank, and the regular Sherman just isn't really cutting it that well. Then you call in the Sherman Firefly Tank Destroyer, which is what this version is. Obviously a little bit bigger gun, bigger caliber, longer barrel, and that's the Sherman Firefly. So we've seen 4 different versions of the Sherman tank. Now let's get to the star of this week's episode, and this is the Sherman Mine Roller. So what is so significant about this version? Well, it's really in the name and the story behind the name. So the model itself is a 3D printed 187 scale T1E3 mine exploder unit that is attached to the front of this M4 Sherman tank. And it is attached exactly how it would have been attached in the real world. If you look, there's a chain drive mechanism that is bolted to the front sprocket of the M4 Sherman tank. And the idea is that these mine rollers would essentially go in front of the tank, and they would detonate these mines ahead of the tank, so that the idea is that it would detonate in the rollers and not harm anybody either in the tank or outside of the tank, and more importantly, the soft-skin vehicles that may be following in the convoy behind the tank. So in the name, what do these things look like to you? There's 5 discs on either side for a total of 10, and these rollers are 10 feet or 3 meters in diameter each. So it's a little bit hard to pick that up on camera. But they kind of look like big pancakes, don't you? Don't you think? Well, the GIs certainly did back in the 40s. So this tank got the nickname of the Aunt Jemima Sherman because they look like pancakes. So you will see a lot of historical photos of different caricatures of Aunt Jemima stenciled or painted on the side of these Sherman mine roller tanks. And the name really just stuck because the GIs, you need a little bit of a laugh. You need something to keep you going while your buddies are getting blown up. Things aren't going great. So you need just a little bit of comic relief, and that's another reason why really even in today's world you see a lot of cartoon characters, different caricatures that find their way onto military vehicles. Technically, for the most part, it's been outlawed, but you will still see a lot of planes, particularly in the Air Force today, that have caricatures on them. And that, again, is just to boost morale and kind of give the guys something to look forward to and do. But back in the 40s, it was very popular on all different types of vehicles, whether it be boats, ground vehicles like the Sherman tank, or planes, aircraft, to have all of these different characters from Looney Tunes or whatever to kind of lift the guys' morale and just to boost the overall feeling of what was going on over there. So that's the story of the Aunt Jemima mine roller. Really, the name has even stuck today, even though these mine tanks look nothing like they did back in the 40s. We obviously have much more advanced technology and different specialized vehicles for dealing with IEDs and mines, but this is really where it started in earnest. So I thought it would be a really good idea to show you what this looks like. As I said, the model was purchased from a 3D printing website. I did not purchase this from Greg. To my knowledge, there is not a kit that's available that I could find anyway for a T1E3 mine exploder unit, which is what this device is called that bolts to the front of the tank. I'm sure maybe as the years goes on, somebody will design one of those that you could buy and then bolt to an existing Sherman tank that you may have in your collection that you can just bolt to the front of it. It's painted in Tamiya olive drab, which I do all of my World War II era stuff in. And then I have added some decals to it, which are also from Greg. This is what the decals look like. And before you all go whining and crying, this is a historically accurate, detailed and decaled, say that 10 times fast, Aunt Jemima Sherman. If you go on the internet or if you go into YouTube and you look up the Aunt Jemima Shermans, you will see that they have stars on the turret, and then on the back they will have the stenciled in star with the circle on the back. Now a lot of these tanks, they didn't have any kind of decal on the back because they will have, gear for the crew, whether that's personal supplies or different equipment needed for the tank. But they'll have bags and different ammo cans and stuff. These Aunt Jemimas, they really didn't. Pretty much every single one that I've seen was open in the back. So it was one of the vehicles that did have the circled in star. It depends on the time period. It depends on the theater of operations, the Pacific or Europe. It depends on a lot of factors, whether or not, what kind of star you're using, what color, whether it is stenciled or whether it has the circle on it. So before you all want to leave me comments about how this isn't historically correct, do your own research. You can pick up these decal sets from smallscalehobbies.com. Again, this is the one that I used. You can see that there's different stars, different circled in ones. And they are by Decal Details. So if you see them hanging, this is what they look like. They come in a clear bag. They are water slide decals. So they are, if you know what you're doing, they are somewhat simplistic to transfer and use. It's taken me years to become comfortable with water slide decals. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying if you have time, you're willing to try, and you're willing to fail multiple times like I have, it's really rewarding once you get it right, because it really makes these vehicles come alive when you're able to add some of these decals onto them. So that's it for this week's edition. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. Here are some other episodes of Military Mondays that are popping up on your screen right now. So if you've liked this video, be sure to click on those videos, as you will likely enjoy those as well. Until next time, take care, be well, be safe. I'll see you in the next review.